She pushed open the screen door. Etta jumped down from the couch and slid between Betsy's feet. By the time Betsy reached the bottom of the porch steps, the cat was already halfway to the barn to check for spilled milk. Crossing the yard, she inhaled the aroma of damp grass, earthy hay, and fresh sawdust coming from the henhouse. It was the same henhouse generations of Ty's family had used on this property. She and Ty had repaired as necessary and added extra space a few times to accommodate more hens, but the house was basically the same. Not a typical box made of wood and screen. It had a shingled roof, weathered wood siding, even a screened porch. A trumpet vine covered in long red flowers climbed one corner post, and a gravel walkway snaked around the side. Some mornings, when dewy fog hung heavy over the farm and everything was blurry and half erased, Betsy imagined the henhouse as a home for fairies or hobbits. The hens got anxious if she robbed them of their eggs too early in the morning, so she crept in quietly, eased the door closed behind her, and locked it to keep the determined hens from making a quick escape. The interior was full of quiet clucking. The hens were mostly content, but Betsy knew from experience that exasperation at her intrusion wasn't far off. "Good morning, little mamas," she murmured as she pulled out 8 brown eggs, lightly speckled, 2 yellow, and 1 as blue as a robin's egg. "Worked hard this morning, didn't you?" She placed the eggs in the basket hanging by the door, then scattered a few scoops of feed across the ground. The hens fluttered down from their perches to dine, all indignities forgiven. With the henhouse door locked tight behind her, she paused before turning back to the house. It often stopped her, the beauty, almost perfection, of their little space on this earth. Franklin Dairy Farm, the land Ty had worked and shaped and brought to life. The sky was now streaked with bold purples and blues, bright pinks and yellows. Oaks and hickories, tall, thick, and majestic, dotted their 500 acres. She could hear the steady whoosh, whoosh of the milking machines even out here in the yard. Faint strains of Chris Stapleton's Tennessee whiskey floated out of the speakers Ty and Walker had jiggered up in the nooks and crannies of the barn. Through the steadily increasing light, she could just make out Ty's outline as he stooped over a cow hooked up to a machine. Ty was thick, but not overweight, just solid, as if he could carry the weight of the world on his shoulders and not buckle or even protest. She had liked that about him when they first started dating, and it hadn't changed. She thought about going out to the barn and kissing him good morning. It would surprise him, delight him. She closed her eyes and could feel his lips, warm and soft, faint prickles at the edges. He'd still smell like sleep, but also like oats grass and good outside air. She opened her eyes, lips tingling, and grabbed the basket of eggs off its hook. The eggs clattered against each other but didn't break. Instead of turning toward the barn, she retraced her steps back to the house, keeping her head down to avoid the 2 ant beds that always magically reappeared, always in the same place. The morning after she'd poured vinegar and boiling water over them. It was amazing. They had the most industrious animals, even insects, on their property. Ants that did nothing but work, just as they were supposed to. Cows overflowing with maternal milk. Hens that offered eggs each morning without fail, their bodies giving forth life as they should. Even Etta had once offered them a litter of kittens, much to their surprise. It seemed every body on the farm consistently obeyed God's natural order of things, producing and giving life, working and contributing as they should. Betsy sidestepped the ant mounds, and when she looked up, the first thing she saw was the swing, moving slowly in the breeze. The swing hung from the lowest branch of the sweeping oak tree in the backyard. The tree was like something from Grimm's fairy tales. It sat in the middle of an otherwise treeless yard, its limbs extending 20, 30 feet from the trunk, arms of Spanish moss swaying in the breeze, fingers of ivy trailing up and across the limbs. The shade underneath was thick and dark, always at least 15 degrees cooler than the heat-saturated yard. It was the kind of tree Betsy and her sister Jenna would have loved to have had in their backyard growing up, a backdrop to their adventures, even if most of their adventures were only in their minds. Under the swing was a dirt patch where